Hi, Trip. My name is Jake. I'm a 27 corrections officer making $60K a year, not including overtime. I have no friends. I've attempted to make some, but I've had no luck. Every time I match with girls, not models, 95%, they only want me to sub to their OnlyFans. The other 5%, they don't respond. I'm not using the boring hey, hi intro. I try to look for something in their bio to go off on. I've approached women at bars, but have been turned down every single time because I'm short. I'm 5'5". Lately, I've been so lonely because of this. I work 6 to 7 days a week to keep my mind off of this. Okay. Is there any advice you would give? Thanks, Jake. All right, Jake, a lot to discuss here. We are a bit in a situation. So let's see here. First of all, it was interesting that you said how much you make. I'm not sure exactly what that has to do with the rest of your question, but that's okay. You said you have no friends. You've attempted to make some. You clearly have a problem with how much you work. So you do work quite a bit, which is a problem. But okay, let's talk about the women who want you to sub to their OnlyFans and all these women that are trying to scam guys, because there's a lot out there. We've talked about this with Coach Eric before on the podcast about how to look out for some of these scams. I'll give you the kind of quick brief overview of that right now, even though I know you're not asking, but just know if they don't want to meet up with you, but they want to continue talking to you for any other reason, it's probably a scam. Very simple. Now, the reason why you're not having any luck online is always going to come down to your pictures. And the fact that you're not using the boring hey, hi intro, this says to me that it's absolutely your pictures. And I also wonder how much you're actually putting into the effort of online dating. I wonder if you're swiping enough and getting enough volume in. I wonder if you're using enough of the apps. Some guys, they do a lot of swiping on one app, for example, and that app in their city isn't producing them a lot of results. That's because some cities have different apps. Some countries have different apps that just work better. For example, so many cities I've learned now in the United States, Tinder is it's just barely the way to go anymore. But then you go to Europe and Tinder is one of the main sources of online dating. So it's for you to test and to get onto multiple dating sites to then be able to sift through the women who are scamming you or want you to follow them on Instagram or want you to follow them on OnlyFans and all that stuff. So we just have to sift through those women. And the way that we're going to always get the highest quality match online, besides utilizing volume, much swiping, and many different apps, is through your photos. Do not hesitate to invest as much money as you can into really good photos. There are some companies that even charge upwards of $2,000. I understand that that's, for some people, that is an entire salary or half their salary for the month. But that's why you can save for it and eventually get up to the point where you can get amazing pictures. Do you have to spend $2,000? No, you do not. There are many companies out there and just photographers who will do it for, well, $50. You can pretty much get any price you want. I mean, you can work with the best famous photographer in the world and they'll charge you $10,000 because they're so famous. There's a range, but you should at least be spending $300 to $400 on pictures. That's how much it's going to cost you to get really good pictures. Do not take selfies. Do not do this on your own. Do not have your friend take pictures for you. Can that work? Yeah, it can. Does it have the chance of working as best as if you hire someone to do it? Absolutely not. So you need to hire someone to do the photos for you. For those guys out there, I hear this a lot, that struggle with the idea of having professional photos on their online dating profile because they think, oh, well, if I do that, that's going to look really funny. It's going to look too try hard. Women are not thinking on that level. They do not swipe and go, why did this loser get these amazing photos of himself? They're not thinking that. No one's thinking about that. All they're looking at is the picture. They're just looking at the person. And by the way, not that this should even matter, but I should say it. Most people are doing this. So many people are getting professional photos of themselves. So it's kind of starting to become the norm anyways. But that aside, same for you. If you look through a woman's photos, if she looks her best in a photo and the photo represents her well, that's all you're thinking about. Let me give you a hint. Same thing for women. So, Jake, to answer the first part of your question, if you want more results in online dating, get better photos. Get them, hire this out and get them so that you can have the best chance. Okay? All right. So to continue here, you're going out, you're approaching, you're 5'5". Well, we have to understand that we can only focus on what we can control. We cannot control if we're 5'5", unfortunately. I know we all want to be 6 feet. And yes, men who are taller do usually have more options. So there's a little bit of a handicap there, so to speak, in the game of dating. But that doesn't mean that you don't have the opportunity. So when you're going out, and this is such a broad question, so it's really hard for me to give you everything here because there's a whole structure that you can be learning for meeting women when you're going out and approaching. I talk about that in my Hooked course. We talk about this in the coaching program. I have hundreds of podcasts you can listen to. But the fact that you're getting turned down every single time, well, a couple things. One, it could be not just your height, could be what you're wearing, the way that you're groomed. I mean, listen, you're 27, so you're not super young, you're not super old. It shouldn't be too polarizing for you to be approaching women. But maybe bars aren't the best place for you, okay? So maybe bars are not where you should be focusing most of your approaching. You can be trying other places where it might not be as harsh of a rejection. For example, going out during the day, on the weekends, approaching women there. I know that you're a very busy guy. We'll get to that in a second. So utilizing other opportunities, parties, events, networking, meetups, Facebook events, just going out and going to touristy areas and doing approaches. I talk about this quite extensively here on the podcast, right? Making those opportunities to do the approaches. Also volume. If you're going out and you're like, oh, I'm getting shot down and you've only talked to 3 women, that's not enough. You need to be talking to more. Just recently, I went out in New York City. And by the way, I'm taller than 5'5". And I went out and I went up to about 30 different women and about, out of 30, I think it was like 20 or like 18 to 20 rejected me right off the bat. Right off the bat. And then a few more after that, even with a little bit of conversation, still rejected. But then others got numbers from, and it wasn't a problem. So you do need that volume. Yep. Sorry, guys. No one wants to hear the fact that they have to spend money and do work, but that's just the reality. Now, for you, Jake, you also work 6 to 7 days a week. You said, I will work 6 to 7 days a week to keep my mind off of this. Now, you didn't really mention that this was a problem, but I feel like it could be. So you always have to figure out what your priorities are. If your priorities are dating and that's important to you, got to figure out some ways to take more days off so you're not working every single day so you can put more time into approaching, into your dating profiles, although that shouldn't take taking off of work. You can just go home and be swiping. But I'm sorry you're feeling lonely, man. Don't give up. I gave you a couple of tips that you can use right now to hopefully change what's happening here. And I wish you the best of luck. Just reach back out and see what we can do. Get the Hooked program. You know, if you're really serious about this isn't working, get the Hooked program instead of listening to these podcasts where you have to piece it together yourself.